Good morning. We are going to look at Salt in His Shoes today by Dolores Jordan and Rosalind Jordan. And it's about Michael Jordan. And just to point out the obvious, Jordan, Jordan, and Jordan. So this story was written about a famous athlete by his family members. What we're going to use this book for in class is to study our Readers and Writers Workshop, of course. But specifically, how do readers look at characters' emotions and traits? You might use an open mind graphic organizer where you would reflect or write down an emotion and then explain how you figured that out. Use the text. Also, when you write, how do you develop a character by giving them emotions and traits that people can identify with? So that's what we're going to use this for. And let me show you what the cover looks like. I'll take off my notes. Salt in His Shoes. And remember, Miss Johnson has her theme going of taking a walk in someone else's shoes as a vehicle for understanding things better. So, this ties in nicely. Michael loved to play basketball. Every Saturday, he followed his older brothers, Larry and Ronnie, to the park, hoping that they would let him play. And if one of the guys who usually played with them didn't show, they always did. But there was one problem. His name was Mark, and he was the tallest boy on the court. "What's the matter, Mikey? Too short?" Mark flapped his arms in Michael's face. "Over here," shouted Larry. But when Michael threw the ball, Mark's long arms came out of nowhere and knocked the ball away. It flew into the hands of a player on Mark's team. He made the basket, and the game was over, just like that. So this story starts right in the action. We already know what the issue is. "I'm really sorry, guys. If I were taller, that wouldn't have happened." All the way home, Michael apologized, even though no one was mad at him. His older brother, Ronnie, tried to cheer him up. "Look, little brother, you played good today. Don't worry, we'll win next time." It's funny, I have all these little sticky notes I can't resist. Gotta get rid of them so that you can see my story. Oh dear. When they got home, Michael went into the kitchen where Mama was cooking dinner. He was still disappointed, and she could tell. "You guys lost again today, huh?" Michael nodded. He sat quietly for a minute, then said, "Mama, how can I grow taller?" Now Mama knew the answer to lots of questions, but this was a tough one. She thought for a moment as she sprinkled salt and pepper on her chicken she was making for dinner. Then she smiled, looked at Michael, and said, "Salt." "Salt?" Michael looked at his mama. "Salt in your shoes. We'll put salt in your shoes and say a prayer every night before you know it, you'll be taller," she replied. I like the way Mom has a strategy. "Salt in my shoes," Michael said quietly to himself. Surely Mama was teasing. He sat staring out the window trying to figure out how salt was going to help him grow. He noticed the rose bushes outside in Mama's garden. They had grown high along the fence, and roses of all colors were blooming on the vines. He thought to himself, "I remember when Mama first planted those bushes." Michael's face lit up. If Mama knows how to make those rose bushes grow taller, then maybe she's right. Maybe salt in my shoes will really help me grow. So he's thinking about this idea and connecting it to something. And we can see Michael's emotions, right, and his feelings. Hopefully you have a few adjectives in your head to describe his emotions. Growing more excited, Michael twirled around and started asking lots of questions. "Mama, how long will it take? And how tall do you think I'll get?" Smiling, Mama sat down next to him and explained, "In order for this to work, the most important things you have to do are to be patient and listen to what I tell you and say your prayers every night." Listening carefully, Michael shook his head. "Okay, Mama, I'll be patient, but what does saying my prayers have to do with it?" "Everything," Mama replied, and she hugged him. Now go wash up and tell your brothers and sisters to get ready for dinner." Michael dashed out of the kitchen, almost knocking over his father, who was walking in. "What's he up to now?" asked Daddy. "Oh, the usual," laughed Mama, chasing a dream. And here we go, kitchen and the family. You can also infer that Michael grew up in a really caring family and the emotions in the household were happy and caring. Later, during dinner, Mama noticed that Michael was barely eating anything. He was already daydreaming about being taller. "Michael, first things first. You won't grow if you don't eat, especially your vegetables," Mama said. "But I'm not really hungry," he said. Raising her eyebrows, Mama gave him a stern look. Slowly, Michael picked up his fork and began to eat. Minutes later, his plate was clean and he was asking for more. That evening at bedtime, Michael set his favorite game shoes on the floor next to the growth chart hanging on the wall. Then he put on his pajamas and said his prayers and jumped into bed. When Mama came in, Michael was fast asleep. By the look on his face, she could tell he was already playing basketball in his dreams. Standing by his bed, Mama sprinkled salt in his shoes. Then she prayed quietly over him, as she did all her children. "Dear God, please help Michael to be the best he can be and to give his best in all that he does. And Lord, could you please make him just a little bit taller tomorrow than he is today? Thank you. Amen." After that night, Michael wore his favorite game shoes everywhere he went, even to church, and he stopped going to the park with his brothers on Saturdays. Instead, he stayed home and practiced. He wanted to grow a few more inches before he went back to the park. So there he is. There's his mama, and there he is practicing and practicing. After 2 months of practicing and waiting patiently and praying, Michael stood next to the growth chart on his wall. Nothing. He hadn't grown an inch. He was disappointed, but he did not stop believing. "I just got to give it time, like Mama said," Michael thought to himself, and that's what he did. 2 more months of practicing went by and still nothing. Now Michael was becoming a little sad. Not only had he not grown 1 inch, but he also missed playing basketball with Larry and Ronnie. About the only thing he didn't miss was being picked on by Mark. When the next Saturday came, his brothers tried to get Michael to go with them to the park, but he wouldn't budge. Mama had begun to worry. When she saw Michael sitting alone on the steps, she said to Daddy, "Maybe you should go out and talk to him." So Daddy went out and sat with Michael. "What's wrong, son? You haven't gone to the park with your brothers for a while now. Are you okay?" Michael didn't say anything at first. Then he looked at Daddy and said, "I thought I would at least be a few inches taller by now. I did everything Mama told me to do, but nothing happened." "Michael, why do you want to be taller?" Daddy asked. "If I were taller, I'd be a great player, and I could help our team win," Michael answered. "But you are a great player, son, and you already have everything it takes to be a winner, right here." Daddy tapped Michael on his chest. "Being taller may help you play a little better, but not as much as practice, determination, and giving your best will. Those are the things that make you a real winner." Michael thought about what Daddy said for a minute. Then suddenly, he jumped up and took off. "Where are you going?" Daddy yelled after him. "I've got a game today and I'm late," Michael yelled back. So here's a turning point in our story, right? Michael took the words of someone older and wiser and used them to get moving and motivated. When Michael reached the park, the game had started. He sat on the bench hoping he would get a chance to play. And he did. The game was almost over and the score was tied when John, one of the guys on Michael's team, fell and hurt himself. Here was Michael's chance. Michael joined his team in the huddle as they gathered on the sideline for a timeout. Okay, the game is tied. All we need is 1 point. Who wants to take the shot? Ronnie asked. He looked in Michael's direction. Feeling more confident than ever, Michael said, I'll do it. When the whistle blew and the game began again, Michael began to pick on Michael as usual. Still trying to play with the big boys, huh? Michael taunted. But Michael paid him no attention. Taller or not, he had been practicing, and today he was determined to win. Larry threw the ball inbounds to Michael. Michael caught it, bounced it for a moment, and then took off running. Get the size difference. As he approached Mark, Michael shifted to his right. Mark followed, but while he was still shifting, Michael spun to his left. He stepped behind Mark and shot. The ball arced far above his opponent's hands and fell silently through the hoop. 2 points, the game was over. Michael's team had won. It was just as Michael had dreamed. When he realized what he had done, Michael took off running and didn't stop until he had reached home. Bursting through the door, he shouted, I did it, Daddy, I did it. I shot right over the tall guy's head and we won the game. Running in behind him, Ronnie and Larry joined the celebration. That's right, little brother, you did it. You won the game for us. Michael remembered the look that Ronnie gave him during the last time out of the game and said, No, we won the game, but I was the star. They all laughed. After that day, Mama stopped putting salt in Michael's shoes, but Michael did not stop being patient and working hard and praying. So that must be what made Michael grow to be a 6'6" tall basketball player. And there's our final shot of the real Michael Jordan. And again, you can see how we see the character's emotion, Michael's emotions, and his traits of determination and perseverance help him to become the basketball player that he's dreaming of. And the author's message of working hard and having determination help you realize your dreams. As we read and write, we're going to be looking at our characters and thinking about how to give people the understanding of our characters' emotions and traits. And Dash here enjoys this story every time. Have a good time. Catch you in Readers and Writers Workshop.